Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Hello there, and welcome back.
Welcome back, guys. And just going to check. Yes, we're looking okay. So right off, before you get going, check and see if you're subscribed, because it's mind-blowing. I mean, I was just checking a few things that I know I was subscribed to, some other channels. And I was unsubscribed. And I'm like, why am I unsubscribed from this stuff? Because as I've shared with you guys, we tend to not look at the stuff that we're talking about so much from other people. But we do, look at things like homesteading, survival, things along those lines, outdoor world living, that type of thing, being in harmony with nature. And it's not just channels like this that certain powers that be, for now, are having issues with. There's whole new categories. People that are self-sufficient, channels that teach people how to be self-sufficient, how to, recognize, what's edible out there in the wild, what's out there in the wild that you could actually use as medicine too. I mean, all these things are being targeted because, again, the ultimate goal is everybody being dependent on the system completely.
Absolutely. That's the goal. And they'll do and they will say anything they need to get that done. It's just silly what we've been checking out this morning.
It's I think more than obvious now for more and more people to, the bigger picture, what's going on. And so we had talked about sleepy cellular entities, as we have to, try to speak in our parables here, that were awakening. And here you see threats to Northern Virginia malls, shopping centers could be activated ISIS cell. And, I hate the way they label these things. So says a military source. Now, this would be credible in the sense that, yeah, we do get, and we've gotten this, that there are these little entities becoming bigger entities, becoming awakened first, and then banding together and carrying out their prescribed duties. And it's interesting too, because many of these sleepy cellular entities didn't have a clue that they were sleepy cellular entities. This is in the DNA. It's actually programmed in the DNA, being activated by certain technologies. Oh, we're going to learn so much now about everything that's really been going on for so long for those that want to wake up, and many are awakening. Look at those strange wispy clouds in a checker pattern or in a grid pattern. Those things have been up there for decades. Those things have been flying little things down. Imagine little robots on parachutes that are dropping from the sky, have been dropping from the sky for decades. And you're jogging along, and this is pre-planned, pre-plague upon the land. Careful there.
Yeah.
You're jogging along without a mask, because it's whatever. It's 2005. It's 2010. It's 2012. Maybe it was even 1999. And inhaling. Lyme disease. And I'm not saying that you're inhaling Lyme disease, but inhaling these things that can stay in your system for who knows how long, forever, theoretically, as long as your body is, as it is. Maybe eventually when it wasn't anymore and it broke down because you're long gone, you have no need for this vehicle anymore, then it breaks down, and who knows if these little things will get activated and go find another place to go stay. Again, what we're talking about is NaNO, and it's been out there for a long time. Now, of course, now, it's coming more to the forefront as we see more direct means of delivery. just recognize things can stay dormant. Now, going back to Lyme disease, since I'm somebody that went through it like 20-ish years ago, and it is a spirochete, which when you have a strong immune system, if you could get control of your immune system, boost it, develop it so it's stronger, and Qigong and Taoist philosophy, traditional Chinese medicine, we would say build a strong Wei Qi field, which you could think about as your protective force field around the body. Then it'll go dormant. It'll basically go to sleep. It won't bother you. But it's still in the tissues in the body. It's still in the tissues in the body, and it waits for an opportune moment. Perhaps you catch the flu, a really severe cold, strep throat. Then it could become activated. Something lowers your immune system. Then it could become activated. It's not really gone. It's there. It's just in an inert state. Same thing with these things that have been wafting down in the air around us forever. And now, of course, again, being delivered, so to speak, in a more direct manner as well. And many of these cells, these sleepy cellular entities, didn't even know that they were that. They had no clue. They've been here for a generation.
Yeah, it's generation.
You know, it could be that their parents came over. Their parents immigrated. Maybe the parents immigrated in 1991. Maybe the kids were born in 92, 93, 94. Now, all of a sudden, there's something turning on in their DNA, and they know they're supposed to go to West Virginia and acquire farmland.
Actually, it's more like grandparents and possibly great-grandparents that's been, influenced in a way.
Yeah, for a very, very long time. And, this is what we were talking about. So, when this is using a certain label, a descriptive label with the IS, or we could say is
Yes, is
cell.
Mm-hmm.
Activated is cell. Is it really is? We all know about the alphabet soups and their role in all these different labels and different entities. And we've seen, many of us have seen, photographs of a certain BIN and then another word LA. You get it? D, right? IN. The big baddie.
Mm-hmm.
Who, if you look closely and look into it, why are there pictures of him smiling with President Bush? Going back to the years when he was in control of the alphabet soup that starts with a C, ends with an A, and I think there's an I in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
Much more going on than meets the eye. But yeah, you have Fairfax County Police Chief Kevin Davis holding a press conference saying his department is taking this very seriously. We received information with public safety value added to it. It's our responsibility to have a greater presence, be more aware, ask the community to have their eyes and ears peeled for more suspicious activity. So we'll see what happens here. But yeah, this is what we had gotten from the Galactics. More like they're organizing and coming together in units right now mostly, but that there could be most definitely random, sporadic events that were just basically designed to inflict the TERROR word.
Mm-hmm.
And exactly where people would be shopping, gathering, things like that. It gives the biggest bang for the buck for the baddies, so to speak. So be very aware of that. That's part of what is in the plans for us, and also over in Europe as well. What's Americans' biggest fear? Well, corrupt government officials. That says it all.
Oh my gosh, I hope we don't get in trouble for picking on them.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
We might get in trouble.
Hallelujah.
We're on Rumble.
See, even that, you might say that little phrase there because that's what you were brought up with. But then when you dig deeper and you look at what are you really saying, again, it's all that conditioning. But, hey, this is great. People are waking up. Number one fear is, the people in control. Yes, yes. People are waking up, and it was like by a mile. There still are some people that have their heads in the sand. I had a conversation with a family member yesterday, and I guess because of the upbringing, there's just no getting through. No getting through. Even when you present tons of facts and evidence, still going to choose to stick the head in the sand or somewhere else and stay in the Matrix. As we know, I mean, you look back to the Matrix movies, some people want to go back into the Matrix because it's easier. It is easier. 79.6% of responders, saying, that the corruption of government officials is making them afraid or very afraid. That's 80%. 80%. Wow. Okay, we're getting there. Now we're making progress when you start to realize that the problem is the system itself and the control grid itself. That's the problem. Progress. We are making progress.
Progress, not perfection.
No. And we see Alabama Governor Kay Ivey saying, I have joined a lawsuit to fight back against the outrageous, overreaching number 46 date for men. And it looked like him and Macron were actually having a little date. They were playing handsies. I mean, it was really an awkward moment when they were holding hands, and it looked like they were going to go tiptoeing through the tulips, singing like Tiny Tim.
Lovely.
Just plucking little flower petals together, looking at each other lovingly.
Well, maybe they have a fetish.
Well, it could be. I mean, you're the best puppet. No, you're the best puppet. Emmanuel. I can't. And look at his name, Emmanuel. God with us.
So romantic.
God with us. That's what Macron's name means, Emmanuel. God with us. And many people will look at him and say, well, that could be the Antichrist with us.
Right.
And again, because if you're talking about Antichrist, Christ is the anointed one, which is really referring to full-blown Kundalini activation and illumination. Not illumination of the negative kind, as in that group that starts with an I and ends with an I. And, again, there's a U, there's an MIN, there's an A, there's a T, just for those, because there's always questions about who is that group. So, yes, she's going to take this important step and join Georgia and other states to pursue the most effective legal path to stop these dates for men. She's going to stop number 46 tiptoeing through the tulips with Emmanuel.
Gosh, you think everybody should have a right to do that?
I wish I had set up that little video of Tiny Tim tiptoe through the tulips.
We'd probably for sure get in trouble.
That would be so funny to see somebody do like a little animated GIF of those two tiptoeing through the tulips together.
I'm sure we'll see it tomorrow.
Yeah, that would be a great idea. By the way, attorney generals in 10 GOP states are joining the fight against the dates for men. And, some of these states, I know it's both Dakotas. Let's see here. Missouri, Nebraska, Alaska, Arkansas, Iowa, Montana, New Hampshire, North Dakota, South Dakota, and Wyoming. Call it a power grab. Yes, I mean, they're talking about being unconstitutional. And, the Constitution's been shredded. That's the bottom line. And the article at Zero Hedge, 3 reasons to start taking secession seriously. Yeah, I think there's 3 dozen at least. As we can see, nobody's going to unite the country, and there's many people on both sides that there's just no way. I mean, no way at all. People are going to see things the same. And the Great Divide has gotten to be bigger than the Grand Canyon.
Oh, most definitely. It's getting larger and larger. It's a process that also needs to happen, though. It's meant to happen. It's just kind of sad, and it hurts, kind of like a Band-Aid being torn off,
Yeah, well, in any divorce, you always worry about the kids and worry about the whole situation and things happening in an amicable way instead of a scorched earth way.
Right.
First reason we must now take secession seriously is that it's no longer a topic of discussion among the most radical. No, and the polls show that we're, in some instances, the majority think this is the only thing that can happen. So it's changed dramatically. Second reason is to take secession seriously is the fact that the left doesn't seem to be learning anything from the rise of separatism. And, here we're getting into that left-right divide. And you can't force people to be happy when they feel like everything that they hold sacred is being ripped away from them. Mm-hmm. And that works on both sides. And then the mainstreaming of secession means now is the appropriate time to start asking the difficult questions of, well, how's it going to take place, what's it going to look like. And they go to the USSR and talk about what happened in the USSR, because it did catch people by surprise, even though, I think a lot of us realized that it was completely staged at the same time. And so we jump over and we see the president for life. Well, he's going to get re-upped for 5 years at a time as we go here. Xi Jinping hasn't left China in 21 months. And what's interesting here, it's the posturing and it's the fact that the position of China in the world has shifted dramatically. So when presidents and prime ministers of the group of 20 nations meet in Rome this week, China's leader won't be among them. He's not going to be expected at the climate talks next week in Glasgow, Scotland either, where China's commitment to curb carbon emissions is seen as crucial to helping blunt the dire consequences of climate change. He has yet to meet President, number 46 in person and seems unlikely to anytime soon. He hasn't left China for 21 months and counting. The ostensible reason for his lack of foreign travel is the plague upon the land, although officials have not said so explicitly. It's also a calculation that has reinforced a deeper shift in China's foreign and domestic policy. China, under Mr. Xi, no longer feels compelled to cooperate, or at least be seen as cooperating, with the United States and its allies on anything other than its own terms. That's a big statement. Mm-hmm. And that's it right there. They feel that they now have the power. They feel that they have been anointed by the invisible power structure that truly is. So still, Mr. Xi's recent absence from the global stage has complicated China's ambition to position itself as an alternative to American leadership. It has coincided, some say, contributed to a sharp deterioration in the country's relations with much of the rest of the world. Instead, China has turned inward, with officials preoccupied with protecting Mr. Xi's health and internal political machinations, including a CCP Congress next year where he's expected to claim another 5 years as the country's leader. As a result, face-to-face diplomacy is a lower priority than it was before. There's a bunker mentality in China right now. Yes, a bunker mentality. Think about that. So everything has shifted to a totally different stage. The time of even trying to look like, let's play nice. Well, basically, let's just put it this way: the gloves are off. Mm-hmm. The bell has been rung. And both sides are starting to come towards the center. China, and I don't mean center in a good way, I mean as if, they're going to start to perhaps deliver blows in exchange. I mean, we're talking like, a fight, mm-hmm. is obvious. China to build special forces base in Tajikistan on the Afghan border. And so Tajikistan was part of the Soviet Union, now a quote unquote independent country. But really, who's going to be in control of it? Well, militarily, China's looking to put a military presence there on the Afghan border. It's the old biblical kings of the East preparing the way for Ezekiel 38. For those of you that follow it, it's going to a different level. The gloves are off. It's just becoming more obvious what's going. The dragon has awakened and is about to make its presence known in a more aggressive manner.
Sure is.
It's the rebuilding of the Soviet Union in a way. It was coming to me today. But in a way where you can see the partnership between Russia and China. So in effect, it's a much larger, more powerful version of what was dissolved, with Gorbachev and Yeltsin and all that back in the Reagan and first, Clinton presidency there. And thankfully we didn't. Well, anyway, that's another story. This is interesting too. So Yuval Harari warns humans will be hacked if AI is not globally regulated. He basically is warning of AI, as we've shared with you. This war on the highest level is between AI and organic, quote unquote, life on the highest level. And there is this counterfeit. And so what we've seen at the top of the food chain truly is something that appears as an AI dragon entity. Mm-hmm. This is the true great dragon of old. That it's interesting how there's so much corruption and lies in our BIBLE. But then again, the bigger scheme of things, you can pick out those universal truths that are in there as well. And it's been done, intentionally. And we could see the future could see world's human data delivered through the rising power and reach of artificial intelligence in the hands of a powerful few. A recipe for a dystopian tomorrow populated by hacked humans. This is a world-renowned author. Yeah, and that's exactly what's already in place. And it's just becoming more obvious. And it's definitely the case. Hacked humans. Think about the hacked human thing. This is what we were talking about when we're talking about those sleepy cellular organisms don't even know that they've been hacked, but they've been hacked. And perhaps, most definitely, they'll find themselves doing things that they wouldn't have normally done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. They're going to be, following their DNA urges, their body's urges. To them, it's going to feel like a very natural thing to do.
Kind of sounds a lot like The Walking Dead, doesn't it? In certain ways, it sounds a lot like Dawn of the Dead, Walking Dead. What was that? World War Z. Mm-hmm. And I Am Legend. It does have that component,
that tone to it, right?
Or we could throw in, as we've said, Invasion of the Body Snatchers, because your body's your vehicle, and they're hijacking your vehicle.
Yep, they sure are.
This is a hijacking of the highest degree, and this came to Cindy out of the blue, and she had no idea of anything about this, but for some reason we feel like this was probably given to us by the Galactics, but they don't like to talk directly about a lot of negative things. But military researchers develop CORPSE eating robots. Think about the Black Plague in Europe, Monty Python, bring out your dad. Bring out your dad. Well, how about the dead on a battlefield? And we did equate yesterday, and I've said it many times before too, that war is in many, many ways, it's a blood sacrifice to these diabolical dark energies that are running this realm. They're running this planet. And they literally feed off of the negative vibrations that come off of war. And this is why we've had nonstop war in all of this history. And you just have to go through and look through our history. There's constant warfare. It never stops. Why? And when you meet people and you get out to different countries, you get out to different places, people are generally, I think, nice. I think most people have a tendency towards good. I really do think if we pulled away the entire system, I think a lot of all the darkness would just go. It's the system that cultivates it. And here now they found a way to basically power the robots using the meat and everything else.
Yummy.
Yeah. So yeah, and this is the Defense Department.
Mm-hmm.
That entity, DARPA. Look closely at what they have done. It's the worst horror movies you can imagine. The scariest sci-fi things you could think of, they've already investigated.
Yeah, it's already out there, and this is just why. You have to ask yourself the cold hard question, why? And no one that asks themselves that question is going to like the answer as to why these things exist.
I don't even think like the Terminator movies made it this bad. The Defense Department's funding research into battlefield robots that power themselves by eating human. Yeah, BODIESs. What could possibly go wrong?
Yeah.
I mean, what could go wrong? Why are they doing this stuff in the first place? Why do they spend half the discretionary budget on death and destruction? 14 million people under flood warning. Storm batters the mid-Atlantic. Actually, so when we're looking at Maryland, Virginia, Delaware, over here, southern New Jersey as well, intense flooding going on. Largest flooding since 2003. And again, you're going to be glad that you bought that canoe or kayak because you're going to need it to get down Main Street.
Yep, it'll come in handy now, guys.
As you look at downtown Annapolis, Esta Hora.
Wow.
Yeah, right. It's crazy. But this is what's happening on a regular basis across the globe. 85% of the Afghan population, 85% of the entire country is facing food insecurity. And literally, I mean, this is a famine in the making. It's so sad, so scary. And these people have gone through, over 40 years of nonstop warfare. Actually, the whole history of this region is just loaded with nonstop warfare. Well, the whole country is. But again, that is one of the products too, because your crops are being destroyed constantly because there's warfare constantly, and they're not putting attention into it. So yeah, most definitely, let's send love and prayers over that way, and for all of us that are going through these times, which is pretty much everybody on the planet besides that 1/10 of 1%. So yes, the Pope says it's a date for men from heaven.
Yes.
It's a required thing. You're not going to get in unless you've done it. And we've talked about the riches of the Vatican. We've talked about just the origins of the Vatican, and yet there's still people in the system. It just boggles the mind. 1 billion people, over 1 billion people, are still in the Catholic Church, and they don't understand the origins, the history, or even why they're doing it. It's just that they don't question, because they've been indoctrinated and trained not to question anything. You just go on the authority of the Pope, because he's the Pope.
Yeah, because he's the Pope. And, nobody's going to tell me there's not influential frequencies going out into the airwaves that people aren't aware of. This is just absolutely nuts.
So Pope Francis said today that God has informed him of a new requirement to enter heaven. Everyone must now, what? Before entering the pearly gates. This is very important for the salvation of all people on earth, Pope Francis explained. We know that God lets everybody into heaven because he loves us all, and he doesn't really care what kind of mischief we get ourselves into in this life. But we must be wary of the greatest earthly sin of all, not getting the date for man, just putting it at that. God has informed me he will not let you into heaven unless you have received
that.
But the requirement for that might change. I guess God's going to be watching the pharmaceutical companies to see exactly what they are going to be recommending, because I guess he goes by what they are recommending.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where you have to ask yourself, which God?
And also receiving the full measure.
Yeah, right. Make sure you get it.
We'll immediately release your deceased relatives from purgatory. It could even cut your time there in half.
Yeah, that's so nice. All you have to do is this.
And he commanded the Catholic Church to deny communion to anybody that didn't. So.
Oh, no way. Wow. I mean, that's just incredible. We're on Rumble, by the way.
Oh,
Yep.
and even if that was said in jest and satire, the thing is, people won't take it that way.
No, they won't.
And oh my gosh,
Yeah.
they have the naivety,
Let's just
naivete.
send them awakening energy. Sorry, guys.
May the world awake. May the world awake. Please, may the world come awake. Sometimes it's so painful.
It is. You have to have a little comic relief. You really do. You know, a lot of police officers who have PTSD, sometimes they have to crack a joke in that so that their emotions can actually express themselves. And this is so serious to me. I mean, really, there has to be some type of emotional release here.
And on that light, there's so many right now fire departments that are on skeleton staff, and so many things that are closing down or on skeleton staff because of those dates for men, in which some will, a lot of people are not going along with, and they're just saying no. And again, we need to take the opportunity to create alternatives to the system that's in place, because again, the ultimate problem is the system itself.
Mm-hmm.
How Silicon Valley hatched a plan to turn blood into human eggs. Yes, believe it or not, there is. They don't have the science for it yet. At least they tell us they don't. But do you doubt ETs could? Do you doubt interdimensionals could?
Mm-hmm.
When we talk about and we look back at things that were like, oh wow, Immaculate Conception, this is something that only God can do. And now we understand that, no, you really just need an egg and sperm, and you could do it in a test tube. You could basically abduct somebody, and you could withdraw these things. You could keep them in storage. At a later date, you could go ahead and start the process, create a zygote, and then reinsert it in a womb that is appropriate and suitable, and there you go, your Immaculate Conception.
Right. And you got to love these headlines too, and how they throw that vocabulary hatched in there. It's just cute.
In the rural West, some residents are taking firefighting into their own hands, and of course, we still have the drought ongoing. It is supposed to get a lot colder, and we might see some serious snows. We might see some crazy events like we saw in Texas and Arkansas and Kansas and Louisiana, with that cold blast that was unprecedented, perhaps due to some augmentation. I think we all need to take a lot of things into our own hands, but coming together again, working together, alternatives to the system. This is one of the messages that came through from the Galactic Federation, because again, we have the dark side counter to this. As we are in this time, this is one of the keys to getting through this time. We're going to have to kind of band together with others.
Mm-hmm.
We are going to have to. Cindy and I are, and we've been told by our guides, because we're basically shamans, and we're very, very energy sensitive. We need to kind of keep ourselves isolated
on the outskirts of everything.
On the outskirts of everything, because we're extremely sensitive to the energies and going through an energetic upgrade. And by the way, as the energies from the sun, from that CME, are hitting today, people might feel tired. They might feel a little bit off, a little bit fuzzy, or you might feel just incredible, and you might feel like you're buzzing head to toe and freaking awesome. Everybody's a little different as far as their reaction to the upgrades. But go gently, and if you need to, just lay down and just soak in the energy and allow it to restore your DNA, because that's what's going on, is a DNA restoration. One of the things that you'll find as you get more sensitive, as you become a stronger and stronger empath, is you're going to be less and less tolerant to certain things. And so, I mean, I've shared with you guys, every time we go into town, the big town, I always have the same feeling.
Yeah.
And my Wei Chi field is very powerful. It's really strong from 30-something years of Qigong practice. But yet the changes make it so that I can't stand being around these dark energies. And conversely, the dark energies can't stand being around me. because it's an incompatibility. This is part of the separation, the great separation that's ongoing. And, it's going to be sad in some ways, because you're going to find there's certain friends, family members, loved ones, maybe even, your significant other, partner, spouse, you're not going to be compatible with anymore. And, it's just what's happening because our energies are splitting. We're completely splitting. And this is part of that secession of the states as well. On the bigger picture, we're going to be coming together with new families, so to speak, people that we're harmonious with and vibrating with, resonating with. And conversely, when you go into an area where it's loaded with all these FIVEG towers and there's people that have more stuff coming off of them than a sheepdog, if you know what I mean, you can't tolerate it. And so, that's part of the bigger picture. Like the guides don't want us making several trips a week, into to get shopping and stuff done. They want us to isolate more. And even here in this little town, it's still, I would still rather be way out in the middle of nowhere.
We just everybody is faced with certain decisions and you just have to make them. Sometimes it might not be exactly what you want, but it's something you might need to do for yourself at that moment. So as you are on this journey, trying to find your place and position yourself where you need to be, if it's not perfect, then take into account maybe it's not supposed to be perfect for your path. So I'm sure there's a reason, there's a darn good reason for why we're at where we're at, and everybody's going to be faced with this. So don't shoot for perfection, just shoot for doing your best, and that's where you're supposed to be.
Yes, and this is going to be a time now where we are coming together, and it's going to happen. It needs to happen organically.
Yes. That's key, is organically, not forced.
Exactly, yeah, because then you could end up with partnerships that aren't going to work.
That are not compatible and could be actually bad.
Yeah, most definitely, because you don't want to find yourself throwing, tons of energy, resources, and precious time into something that you then have to leave, in a time of
yeah, because you're not compatible with certain, and people don't really know each other. Like when two different worlds come together, the closer they get, the more you cannot avoid each other's issues. So compatibility is so critical if you're going to do this.
Yeah, most definitely. Most definitely. It's so key. And so, but, again, ideally, you've already found your place.
Right.
And, this is, again, what we want to reiterate because, we do have dear family members that we love that are still looking like, well, I'm going to find my place next August or next September. We got everything lined up for that. What we're getting is, again, if things are progressing along this timeline, we might not be able to move between states come in that time, or in certain states, perhaps you will not be able to cross borders. And this might even be for those that have followed these dates from men and those that haven't, because tensions are going to arise and everything is changing. You might find that you're no longer in the same country. You're on a different, island, so to speak. And, get ready for not being able to move around. So we really need to be situated where we are already.
I think so.
Where you need to be.
If the place where you're going to be is going to work, I would say build that up personally. I mean, because it's almost, late in the game. But then the Galactics have also told me those people that are looking to move, there will be loopholes if you look for them. So that's the part where we have to take responsibility. And if you want something, go for it. Don't do anything quick and rash. That's what I feel.
Yeah, they have said that repeatedly, that there will always be loopholes if you look hard enough. So, it's one of those things where, say mom says no, and you say, but how about if this? No. Well, what if that happened? No. Well, what if this and then that happened? Maybe.
Mike is a professional at that, by the way.
You get to that point where it's like a maybe, and then, oh, okay, I see a little daylight now. I see a little daylight now. Let me keep looking.
Yes.
So yeah, we have to be a little bit flexible and a little bit creative, because there will be. And the one thing, the Galactics came through at 2 a.m. last night, and they wanted to just reiterate that the supply chain. Again, it's really now's the time to make sure that you have all your bases covered. Again, 3 to 6 months minimum. However, there could be conditions that arise that even will, they do foresee the possibility that people in certain areas will find that they'll have to pack up and go. Um, and you might have yourself 20 years of stock, you know, as far as food and seeds and all sorts of emergency stuff. They did say there will be some cases where people might be extremely well prepared, but they'll find that they have to leave the area fast, and they won't be able to take everything. So again, you know, keep that in mind too, as far as having a backup plan. So just to, you know, like share, if something happened where we are now, you know, we do have, you know, a good friend over in Tennessee, a good friend over in West Virginia, a good friend over, you know, we go always, if, you know, worst case scenario, we always go back west too, if we had to. And, you know, there's people that we do know in a worst case scenario where we could go if we absolutely had to, in a panicked pinch.
Yes.
So the same thing, reach out to family, loved ones, friends, you know, have plan B and plan C.
Right.
Work with each other. Recognize, you know, again, if you're thinking, well, you know, financially everything's going to be perfect in about, you know, 12 to 14 months, the world's going to be a totally different place in 12 to 14 months. And even the money that we have in banks might not be stuff that we're going to be able to access in 12 to 14 months. The value of what you have in the bank or in some sort of investment account will probably not be even close to what it is now. Everything's going to change, and it is speeding up, and it's changing really rapidly.
And understand that, you know, there's no thing that's ever going to be perfect. You just kind of have to trust. You have to connect with your higher self, connect with your guides, and then, you know, understand what you want, go for it, and then allow things to come together in such a way that maybe you're not approving of it, but understand that the guides might be doing this to get you to where you need to be and to get you what you want.
So for those of you that are still with us, 42 minutes into this video.
Thank you.
This is something that I've been, you know, meaning to say, and I'll say it again. Feel free to put in comments, you know, anything regarding your situation. Like if you, for instance, are young and strong and you have skills, but you don't have money or a place, put down there, hey, you know, I'm in Mississippi right now. We're looking, you know, me and the wife are looking for a place to settle, and you know, and work with others. And you know, I'm a carpenter, by the way, and my wife's a nurse, by the way, something like that. You know, and then conversely, you know, if you are in a situation where you have land, you might say, I'm a 65-year-old single lady sitting on 20 acres. Here in Kansas, I can't keep up with what I got going right now. I can't do all the chores on this, you know, small farm I got going. You know, would be interested in somebody with good heart and good morals to come and help. You know, things like that. Reach out to each other and just put it out there, and then maybe these communities can start organically happening.
Yeah, start putting the intent out there and make the effort, figure out what's right for you, because we're all individuals and we all have different needs and wants and desires. So just put the intent out there and try and see what comes together.
So we want to thank our Patreons. We couldn't do it without you guys. Also the supporters over on Ko-Fi, where you could do a one-time donation or also monthly support, just like Patreon. And also all those that have been enjoying medicinal foods, use coupon code EEA for 5% off your order. And then as you fill up, you get bigger discounts up to 25% and free shipping. Lots of goodies. I know there is something with the mushrooms that were on back order. You know, just like anything, the supply chain is an issue. So get stuff while you can, and I would, you know, stock up. Most definitely, we have stocked up I went and did a inventory like about 6-7 weeks ago, and because it was bothering me, and then I did another order to augment that. And then with what we've gotten from the guides, I've gone ahead and I don't even want to check the bill because we've added much more stuff in because it feels like we are in a long haul here, and we may, if we want to stay in a certain state of being, we might not be able to leave our property for who knows how long. So that's the way we're viewing it, and so again, we encourage everybody to do what you can to get yourself in that situation where you're as self-sufficient as possible.
Right. I can say comfortably that the times that we're coming up on are temporary, but they are going to be difficult. So we want to just do our best.
Yeah. Again, so I know a lot of people have like 25 years stuff stored up, but we haven't gotten anything that long, honestly, from the guides. They're more concerned about the next 3-4 years.
Yeah.
So that's where the majority of the concern is, and they haven't said anything to us honestly about watch out for this 2-mile high tidal wave that's going to come. Make sure you're at 6,000 feet or anything like that. They haven't said any of those things. Any of those things, and where we are, we're only a couple 100 feet above sea level, and we're told that we're fine. We're fine for, I think, about 3 to 5 years for sure, maybe a little bit longer. And you have to be thinking in increments, because where's good today might not be good tomorrow as well. There is no perfect place, as we've been saying.
There's not.
The biggest hurdle right now is not going to be a pole shift. It's not going to be anything like that where you have to worry about like that gigantic tsunami that's going to sweep all over entire continents, things like that. That's not the big worry. The big worry really is in the control grid.
Right.
The big worry is losing our personal freedoms and decision making. And then also there's always that threat of WAR with the power structure it's on the planet, because that's how they control things. That's always their opt-out. When other things don't work, oh well, we could always pull that card. That's like the trump card they always lay down when they say, nothing's working. We can't get them to go ahead with our schedule.
Right.
So that's what they pull out. So be aware of those things, guys. Be prepared. Much love. God bless and namaste.
Namaste.